Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. I'm Curtis with Market Real Talk, and this is going to be part 3 of Breakout Stock Picks. If you haven't seen my part 1, part 2, I've covered several other stocks already. Check those out in my videos. Today, we're going to cover Cisco Systems. We're going to cover Citigroup. I'm going to walk you all through a couple of articles that I've got on them that shows us where they're standing right now, as well as walking you all through technical analysis on TradingView. And then on top of that, we're going to cover the price action and volume, why I think that they're good stock picks for breaking out in the near future, at least for the near term. So I've got Cisco Systems first up. Let's take a look at them. This is on Google Finance, and this is the 1-year view on Cisco Systems. As you can tell, they were roughly in the mid $60 range for the past year. Jumped up, skyrocketed because of AI and their movement into AI. Cisco is now seen as a very important and vital part to the AI build out. They're doing a lot of changes to their legacy network, and that is exactly why Cisco has been given this price jump as of late. If we scroll down, I'm going to get right into their analysis tab here, and that shows us the analyst ratings. They've got a 10 buy, 5 hold, and 0 sell right now. We scroll down. In fact, we've got KeyBank at a buy, $130. KeyBank, $130. Morgan Stanley, $130. Bank of America, $150. Evercore, $150. So all of these were ratings in June. Recent ratings, in my opinion, looking good right now for Cisco Systems. So technically, the targets are in between the $130 and $150 range. They're only at 120, so they've got a decent ways to go to meet that target. Not a promise that they're going to make it to that target, but definitely something to keep an eye out for, especially when they're being rated by some of the most important institutions that we look up to as far as target ratings. Now, if we move into their price action and volume here, I've got this pulled up on Yahoo Finance. Let's just start somewhere towards the end of June. Okay, so June 23rd, they were at about the low $20 million volume average or trading daily. And then they had a big jump right here at 50 million, of course, going down from $118 down to $113. Dropped down a little bit, started climbing back up with lower volume. And what that tells me is that there was some consolidating right there. And then, of course, the institutions are buying back, keeping it at that level at about that mid $110 to $120 level right now. As we continue to move going upwards on this list right here, same type of price action, lower volume, but still fighting back and forth, battleground between the 110, 120 level. The main thing that you want to kind of keep your eyes out on, and why I like them for the near term, I'm talking about the next few days to the next week or so. If we take a look at July 7th, their volume was at 16 million that day. Their price at $111. The next day after that, volume jumps up just a tad bit, climbs up a little bit. Not conviction yet, right? Not conviction as far as price momentum moving upwards. But then if we take a look at July 9th, 21 million, moving up in volume and moving up in price as well. That's a very good, strong sign right there. And then, of course, the last trading day, July 10th, 26 million, much more than 10 million more than just a few days prior. And price closed at $121. So that, to me, it tells me that the institutions are slowly moving in to get that price up. And also considering that their earnings call is coming up sometime in August, that's pretty good positioning at a good price valuation for these institutions. That's something to keep an eye out on. And then I have this article right here that's titled Cisco IBD Stock of the Day went from slow growth tech icon to AI infrastructure leader. That's what I had mentioned before at the start of this. Cisco was more of a legacy company for networking, you know, all the switches, routers, Cat 5, Cat 6, now moving over more into the AI infrastructure realm. This right here says, not long ago, Cisco Systems, today IBD Stock of the Day was viewed as a mature computer networking company with single-digit revenue growth that paid dividends. Amid the emergence of artificial intelligence, Cisco stock has surged over 53% in 2026 after climbing over 30% last year as a series of depth management moves payoffs. And this article, I forgot to mention, okay, it was released on July 10th, so just the other day. If we scroll down here, this gives us the update on their cloud computing customers. Okay, in fiscal quarter 3 for Cisco, AI-related product orders reached 5.3 billion, up from 2.1 billion in previous quarter. Further, Cisco hiked its estimate for expected fiscal 2026 AI-related orders to 9 billion from 5 billion, and that came out of nowhere. That was during their last earnings call, which that was what caused their gap up to get them to where their current levels are at right now, roughly between the $110, $120 range. Although Cisco did climb up to the 130 range, they ended up coming back down for a little bit of consolidation. Then right here it says Cisco's AI order data mainly comes from networking and optics shipments to cloud hyperscalers such as Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet. The cloud companies need bigger and faster network switches to connect GPU-equipped servers with AI data centers and beyond. So to me, it sounds like Cisco is competing to connect all the GPUs, similar to Marvell, similar to Sumitomo Electric, those type of interconnect companies. I believe even Nokia is working on that right now. So let's jump right into the charts for Cisco and see where they stand. Right here, I have the 1-year view. And we'll just start right from the bottom going upwards, okay? We've got the MACD on the bottom, which is the blue line. And as you can tell, this MACD line is below the signal line. Was going on a downward trend, but as you can tell, this blue line is starting to make its way back up here now. So the momentum may be moving back upwards. The price line is this green one right here. And of course, the green line is certainly on top of the 25-day moving average, which is the blue one at $116, and then definitely far well above the 100-day moving average of $102, which means it's a real good sign from a 1-year view zooming out looking at this. And then of course we have the RSI, which is the relative strength index, which tells us if a stock is being oversold or overbought. And of course, for your judgment, with momentum, you want to make sure that the stock is not being sold to a lower level. You want to make sure that before you get into this type of stock, that it's climbing upwards on an upward momentum, and it's looking pretty good right here. 57, still more in the neutral range, but it's working its way up, and it's been up for the past month or two right here, as you can tell. Now let's move down to the 6-month view, and I'm going to run through these real quickly. 6-month, as you can tell, it's more recent than that 1 year, and then the blue MACD line has surpassed the signal line already. That means that it's upward momentum, looking better than the 1-year view. And then, of course, we have the price line, which is above both the 25-day and 100-day moving average. Good, strong momentum there, looking good so far. And then the relative strength index, more being overbought than sold right now, which is a very good sign for momentum. We move into the 3-month. Same thing, MACD line is on top, upward momentum. As you can tell, even the histogram right here shows a lot of green on this side. And then, of course, the price line is above the 100-day and 25-day moving average. Good momentum. 75 relative strength index, a little bit more leaning on the oversold side. You're not sure when they're going to start coming down a little bit, but let's move into the 1-month view. 1-month view, it's a little bit more even here for the MACD line. The price line is still well far above the 100-day moving average and the 25-day moving average. So for the near-term, long-term moving average, it's looking like it's got good momentum as it's above. For the most part, you kind of want to see it riding on top of that blue 25-day moving average for the most part if you want to get into a stock with stronger momentum. And then similar here, RSI at 73, a little bit more on the oversold side. So be a little cautious there. 5-day view. 5-day view, upward momentum. The MACD line's on top of the signal line right now. Price line still on top of both moving averages. And then RSI at 68. So that's a pretty good spot to actually get in for the 5-day if you're considering the 5-day charts. Now, if we take a look at the 1-day, 1-minute view, this you have to consider that this is most recent trends. If you're trading, you're considering near-term trading, right? And what I mean by that is, of course, these trends can change real quickly, especially if you're judging by the 1-day view. But of course, you want to know how it's moving from the longer term to the shorter term, more recent term as well. The MACD is above the signal line, upward momentum. We saw this green spike right here in the histogram looking good, but we also saw this red selling histogram, which tells us that it came back down a little bit. As you can tell, this green line right here, price line going down a little bit, coming back up, but still over the moving averages. And then, of course, right there, close to about the 60 range for the relative strength index. a little bit leaning more on the overbought side, which is nice. You got momentum there. Just because it's overbought doesn't mean that they're going to sell out on it real quickly here. I mean, it can be overbought for a good long period of time, driving the stock up as well. We just have to watch how we play that one out. All right, so the question is, why do we like Cisco Systems? And the first thing is going back to the whole volume price action that I showed you all on Yahoo Finance. We can go back to that too, but if you take a look right here on July 7th, it was down all the way down here at $111. It starts to make its way up. Okay, it's making higher lows at this point for the past few days, with of course the relative strength index, with that momentum of being overbought. To me, if you look at this chart right here, it being on top of the moving averages, and then if we were to go back to the price action, okay, this is the slow accumulation, in my opinion, from investors, from the institutional investors, from the smart money, from the large funds. And the reason why they're slowly accumulating is because Cisco has their earnings call coming up early mid-August. What Cisco is going to report on is exactly what we had read through here on this article. Okay, they had their AI related orders hiked up to 9 billion. And investors want to know simply two things with this right here. Are we on track to make that 9 billion? And that's exactly why they rated Cisco at $130, $150 price target for their stock price. And then on top of that, how's the health of AI and the AI infrastructure build out for Cisco specifically? I mean, is that 9 billion going to be even hiked up even higher? Are we going to be exceeding that point? That's what's being anticipated right now, and that's exactly why the smart money is moving in on Cisco, positioning themselves for that next gap up. And in my opinion, if you think that Cisco might be a good stock for you to get positioned in for the near term and long term, I think Cisco's got a good shot at it. Of course, not financial advice, no promises, but in my opinion, I think Cisco's got a pretty good shot at it, especially considering the continued build out of the AI infrastructure for the foreseeable future. The capex next year should be in the trillion, and then of course we'll see if it tapers off from there. I mean, I'm talking about the capex, but who knows how things would turn out with physical AI, robotics, and so forth. So that's what I've got for Cisco. At the end of the day, if you take a look at the charts tell us, okay, the MACD is bullish. The price line has been on all the charts, has been on top of the moving averages, both the short and long. And then of course we have the more leaning towards the bullish overbought side. So that's why I like Cisco. Okay, for all those factors, if you put them all together, that's what you've got. And then especially going back to positioning yourself for that earnings call, that might be a good decision depending on if it fits your investment needs or what. All right, so that's what I've got for Cisco Systems. Let's move into Citigroup. And I've got Citigroup pulled up here on Google Finance. This is their 1-year chart. Back in August, they were in the $90 range. And of course, they've been climbing up steadily. Very strong climb for the past year through a lot of reformation over there at Citigroup with Jane Fraser, their CEO, turning Citigroup around. I think Citigroup is a fantastic bank in my opinion. And then today they're hovering at about $140, which is a phenomenal climb for the past year, going from $90 to $140 for Citigroup. If we take a look at the analysis, scroll down a bit, we've got 12 buys, 4 holds right here, and then we have their price targets. They're looking pretty good. 159 from KBW, we've got 176 from Bank of America, we've got 150 from UBS, we've got 165 from Wells Fargo, we've got 143 from Evercore. All of these price targets are well above this $140 range that Citigroup is at already. Now, if we take a look here at the price action and the volume, let's just start at the end of June somewhere. And we had, let's just start here, June 25th. They were at roughly about $144 close. They had jumped up all the way from like the 120 to 140 range in from the beginning of June to the end of June. So pretty strong climb there. However, now they're facing some consolidation. And if you take a look at the volume, right, 12 million in the 140 range here, starts to go down a little bit, drops prices a little bit. And then they have a strong volume here at 22 million, but of course the price goes down drops down even deeper into the 130s now. And if you take a look just here, it's still consolidating at about the 141, high 130 range with low volume. What that tells me is that sellers are exhausted selling right now. They find this price range between the 139, 140 a fair price. And of course, and at this point, in my opinion, with all the financials coming up, their turn to have their earnings call as catalyst. I think it's certainly something worth for us to watch. I believe that with this consolidation phase right here, they're coiling up to pop up even higher if there's good news from the performance of Citigroup. For that reason, I pulled up this article here that came out July 12th on Market Watch. Right here says as five big U.S. banks report earnings on the same day, Citigroup is the one to watch. Among the largest U.S. banks, Citigroup is expected to show the greatest improvement by one important measure, but it still has a long ways to go to reach its own performance targets. And of course, if we scroll down here, right here says even with that improvement, Citi is among the big six where the room for improvement is the most. Citi is roughly tied with Wells Fargo as the cheapest among the six largest U.S. banks by forward price earnings valuations. So if you're considering getting into Citigroup or financials, Citi is a great PE valuation right now. Again, right? I mean, they're at 140. As you can tell, their price targets were all well far beyond that point already, in the close to 160, 170-ish range. Let's jump right into the charts and see what it tells us. This is the 1-year view. And if we take a look, we'll go from bottom to top again. MACD is below, and so it shows downward trend. However, the price line is above the 100-day and 25-day moving average as well, and the RSI is in the about 54 neutral range right there. We take a look at the 6-month view. The MACD has surpassed the signal line, so upward trend. Of course, that's represented by this price line right here that is above the 100-day and the 25-day moving average. However, the RSI, Relative Strength Index, it doesn't show that there's overbuying or overselling right now, more in the neutral range, similar to the 1-year view. As far as the 3-month, MACD is up and surpassed the signal line. Strong momentum, upward trend right there. And then, of course, the price line still above, slightly above the 100-day and the 25-day moving average, with a neutral 53 on the RSI. If we move to the 1-month view, MACD still above the signal line with the price line right at about the same levels as the moving averages, and of course the RSI in the mid 50s. And then for a closer, more recent view to see how this is moving in the near term, we have the 5-day. MACD is above, slightly above the signal line, and then we have the price sandwich right in between the 25-day and the 100-day moving average, with momentum going a little bit more on leaning towards the selling side. For the 1-day, we have a MACD with a downward trend. Price line jumped all the way down here. Of course, this is overnight. This is happening right now. But this was the previous close up here at the 141 level. And then, of course, with the overnight, we have the RSI coming down to 35. So more on the selling side. It could just be a fake out right there, but this is what we're considering really more on the upper end where it had closed last. The reason being is because the volume during the overnight trading or the after hours or pre-market trading is not going to be heavy like during actual trading sessions. So the question is, why do we like Citigroup as a breakout stock? And it's simple. If we take a look right here, we have July 6th. Okay, I'm going to zoom right into it. We've got July 6th right here. It ends up dropping down on July 7th. That's the first day that it's dropped down. July 7th ends up dropping down even more. So it went from 144 level to the 140-ish level in 2 days. And then we've got July 8th. It drops down all the way down here and at the 137 level. Okay, that's 3 days straight drop. And so it starts to lean bullish, picking back up to revert back up to the mean on July 9th. That's 1 day. It closes up at 139. And then July 10th, the last actual trading day, it closes at $140, right above $140. Now, what I would like for you to do is keep an eye out on the next trading day, which is going to be tomorrow, July 13th. If this price ends up closing above higher than on July 10th, okay, we've got a real strong momentum right there. That's where systems are programmed to purchase. And then, of course, once we get the algorithm buyers in there, we get the institutional buyers. Remember, they're accumulating right now for the earnings call as well and getting all positioned up for that. And then on top of that, once we get the call options, exercising the call options, buying, it's going to drive the price up, especially if there's going to be a strong catalyst during the earnings call. So something for you to keep an eye out on. I certainly will. And for all the stocks that I've shared, again, if you haven't checked out my part one, okay, I covered 2 stocks there. My part 2, I covered another 2 stocks for potential breakout. And then I've got this one right here. I'm going to do one more for potential breakouts after this one here. But I'm going to keep an eye out on all these stocks that I shared with you all, and I'm going to come back pounding the table once they get up above that breakout level and continue to drive going upwards, and share that news with you all as well. We'll see how that turns out, okay? No promises, just my thoughts, just my analysis based on the technicals and, of course, any earnings catalyst or any news that I'm expecting from these businesses here, these stocks right here. So if you've got any questions, drop it into the comments for me. Click that like button for me. Click the subscribe button for me. Best of luck to all your trading, and I will see you all again next time in part 4. Keep an eye out on that one, okay?